Good morning, friends. Welcome to Programming by Sailesh. Today, we will cover a most important topic that is what we call as Agile. So, what is basically Agile and why we are using it? So, Agile introduces everything. So, let's come and start the Agile model. Okay. So, first, Agile. What is Agile? Agile believes that every project needs to be handled differently. So, what exactly Agile? Agile believes that every project needs to be handled differently. So, Agile is saying we need to handle every project differently, and existing methods need to be tailored to the best suit with the project requirements. So, we have to divide the project in a small parts, and then we need to merge it. So Agile believes that every project need to be handled differently. Agile says every project should be handled differently. Let's take an example. If we are testing on banking application, it should be tested like a banking. If we are testing on mobile application, it should be tested as mobile. If you're testing a e-commerce website, it should be tested as e-commerce. Okay. So agile model believes that every project needs to be handled differently, and on the project we need to divide the project in a small parts, and then at the end we need to merge it. That is what we call as agile. This is the first, that is what we call as agile model. So what is agile model? Agile model says first we will do the planning. Agile model says first we will do the planning. Okay. So agile model says first we will do the planning. We'll do first the planning, then we have a requirement analysis, then we have designing, building, testing. So planning, agile model says first we will do the planning. So agile model is the first model which introduces that let's have a small planning first before going to start with the project. So we have a planning part first. Then we have requirement analysis. So whenever we do a small planning, then we have requirement analysis. Requirement analysis means we will take the requirements from client. So we have a planning first, then we have a requirement analysis. So we will take a requirement from client. Then we have designing. Designing means high level design and the low level design. Then we have building, that is, we will do the coding part, and then we have a testing. So we will do a minimal planning, then we will take the requirements from client, then we will do the designing part, that is high level design and low level design. Then we have a building, that is what we call as coding, and then we have testing. So this is a simple flow. We can call it as a agile model. So agile model says like this, we will go step by step, and it will be in a cycle one by one. So if you have 10% requirement, let's go with the 10%. If you have again 20% requirement, let's go with the 20%. If you have again 30% requirement, let's go with 30%. So things are divided into the sprints, and that is what we called as a sprint. So this is a complete cycle is called as a sprint. It may be for 2 to 3 months, it may be for 20 days, it may be for 10 days, or anything like this. So it is divided into sprint. Clear? So this is our agile model. Second, in agile we have agile manifestos, or we can call it as agile principles. So, what is agile principles? In agile principles, we have four things. The first is individuals and interaction. So, in this agile, this is called the agile manifestos or a principle. So, we have the first one is that is called as individuals and interaction. In agile development, self-organization and motivation are important as are interactive like co-location and pair programming. Okay, so we have individuals and interaction. Second, we have working software. So demo working software is considered the best means of communication. So we have a demo working softwares in which we, okay, in which we, this is the, okay, best way to understand the requirement. So we should have a demo working softwares. Then customer collaboration. Okay, customer collaboration means as the requirements, okay, as the requirements cannot gather completely in the beginning of the project due to various factors. So continuous customer interaction is very important. So we should interact continuous with the client and take the requirements from the client. Then we have respond to change. Suppose where anything we have to make changes, means client wants to make some changes, so we should have a quick response for that. That is what we call as respond to change. So these are the four agile principles. Then we have, in this we have agile methodology. So what is agile methodology? So agile methodology says it's a continuous iteration of development and testing throughout the software development life cycle. So we have continuous iteration of development and testing. means testing and development team will work parallelly. That is what we call as continuous iteration development and testing throughout the software development life cycle. In this we have one more part. So first part is I divided first part into agile model. Second, I told you the principles, right? So we have the four principles as well. So this is my agile, right? Second, I divided into a principles. Third, coming to in picture that is called agile methodology, which says continuous iteration or development and testing throughout the software development life cycle. And the last one in this, we have a Scrum. So, what is Scrum? Scrum is an agile development method which concentrates especially on how to manage a task within a team based environment. So, Scrum says how to manage a task within a team based environment. That is what we call as Scrum. Okay, so we have a team, we have a proper team. So, how to manage a task in a team? That is what we call as Scrum. In Scrum, we have first the Scrum Master. Okay. Second, we have PO, that is product owner, and the third we have Scrum team. So, what is Scrum Master? Scrum Master is always act like a manager, you can say. So Scrum Master is responsible for setting up the teams. He will responsible for setting up the team. Then sprint meetings, he will organize the sprint meetings. If you have any obstacles in project or anything, he will remove that obstacle to progress. So he called it as a Scrum Master. Second, we have a product owner, that is PO. So every time we cannot call to a customer or a client, can you please provide me details for this, or can you please provide me details for this? We cannot call it every time. So in this condition we have PO, that is called as product owner. Product owner, what product owner will do? Product owner takes all the requirements from the client. Okay, so product owner creates a product backlog. So he will create a product backlog in which all product details are added like a folder or like a repository. Okay, then prioritize the backlog and is responsible for delivery of the functionality at each iteration. Okay, so he will create a product backlog, prioritize that backlog, means he will prioritize which modules should be taken right now, which module should not be taken. Responsible for delivery of the functionality at each iteration. So he was responsible for the delivery of the functionality at each iteration. So he called it as a product owner. It means product details are stored with him. He called it as a product owner. Then we have a Scrum team. In Scrum team, all comes, that is a developer, tester, everyone comes under Scrum team. That is what we call as Scrum team. So in a Scrum, what is Scrum? Scrum concentrates especially on how to manage a task in a team-based environment. Means we have a team for 10, 20 people. So how to manage a task? Okay, that is what we call as Scrum. In Scrum, we have three things. First is Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Scrum Team. Scrum Master is responsible for setting up the team, okay, sprint meeting, and removes the obstacles. Product Owner will create a product backlog, prioritize that backlog as responsible for delivery of the functionality. Third, we have a Scrum team. In Scrum team, what will Scrum team do? We have developer, tester, designer, everyone comes under Scrum team. Then what is product backlogs? Product backlog is basically all product details. So this is basically a repository, okay, where requirements are tracked with details on the number of requirements to be completed for each release. On every release, whatever things should be there to complete it, so it called as a product backlog. We have one more thing important in this agile. First is agile ceremonies. So what is basically agile ceremonies? Agile ceremonies means in agile ceremonies we have sprint planning. So whenever we are working on any application, okay, in a sprint, that is in a one cycle, it should be maybe I have a sprint for 20 days. So we should have a planning for that. Normally, how we can do, how we can achieve that target in a given time duration. That is what we call as sprint planning. Then we have stand-up call. So daily we have 10 to 15 minutes call in which what exactly we are doing, right? How we are on a track or not. That is what we call as daily stand-up calls. Then we have sprint review. On a sprint A meeting at the end of the sprint where team shares their work with stakeholders and get feedback. That is what we call as sprint review. Then we have a sprint retrospective. Retrospective means where the team reflects on the performance and identifies areas to improvement. So whatever things need to be improved, so we will call it as a areas to improvement. On that, we have a meeting in which everything will be shared on a performance, and on that basis, we will improve that. Then we have a sprint. Then we have a backlog refining. What is backlog refining? So whatever things we left with that project, okay, whatever things we left with that project, suppose one module is left on that, we will again refine it and we will take into that sprint. That is what we call as backlog refining. So these are called the agile ceremonies. So agile ceremonies, first is sprint planning. Agile ceremony is an interview question, so in which we have a sprint planning, then daily stand-up calls, then we have sprint review, retrospective, and we have backlog refining. So these we call this as a agile ceremonies. Thank you. Have a nice day. If you have any questions, please ask me.